Hello, and welcome to Friends of the Show. I'm your host, Stephen W. Skinner, and you're listening to my podcast where I talk with some of the funniest and most interesting folks in the world. Now, this is the very second episode of the show, so thank you to anyone who's coming back for the first time. That's a huge step towards coming back for the third time, which I do recommend. So this show is basically a chat with a friend where they share a story, some funny tweets, and then I have them answer questions submitted from listeners just like you. Follow FOTS Pod and submit a question to hear me read it on a future show. This week's friend of the show is my pal Danny at The Real Eatwood on Twitter. Danny is so nice and one of the funniest accounts out there. It was great having him on, and I hope you enjoy the conversation with Rue. And now, Friends of the Show, episode number 2 with Danny at The Real Eatwood.
The cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity. Dorothy Parker.
All right, welcome to Friends of the Show, episode number 2 with with Danny at The Real Eatwood on Twitter. Danny, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen.
Thanks for being on. So that quote was Dorothy Parker.
Yes.
And funny enough, wouldn't you know that in episode number 1, Jess, also picked Dorothy Parker as her quote. How about that?
That's a big coincidence.
It's a pretty wild coincidence. She had a great explanation. She was saying that if Dorothy Parker was around these days, she would have an amazing Twitter account. So I think she thought that's why it was appropriate.
That makes sense. I didn't even think of that, but that does make sense. That the witty people of those bygone days really would be well suited for this format. It's true.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really good point. So why did you pick Dorothy Parker, if that wasn't the reason?
I was going after the content of the quote more than the person. That's just a quote that I really like a lot because, the way that it contrasts boredom and curiosity, it shows how much of what we experience about life has to do with what we bring to it, that when we bring to life a posture or an attitude of being curious, being interested in the world, being interested in life, then there isn't really a place for boredom anymore. There's just everything is a stimulus. Everything can, feed your creativity. So it's a quote that I always keep in mind.
Nice. I think it was a great one. So thank you for that. And I guess that's a good point. So maybe I'll just do a quick background on you and I. We've been friends for a couple of years now on Twitter. How long have you?
Yeah, well, I haven't quite come to my 2-year anniversary yet. It's coming, my Twitterversary. It's coming up this spring. But yeah, we've been interacting pretty much the whole time that I've been around. So at least a year and a half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, about a year and a half or 2 years. Because I remember when you popped up, you were in it right away. You're tweeting all the time, really funny stuff, and interacting with all the same people that I am in our community.
Yeah.
And so I've seen your meteoric rise since then. I had been probably on for 2 or 3 years when you showed up. Probably had maybe 1,000 or so followers. So that was when I was starting to get a little bit bigger, but still pretty small. And then I watched you go from, I think you had 200 to 300 when I followed you, and now you're at 12K or more.
15,000.
15K. I'm sorry. I should have checked my numbers right before the show. Yeah, that's great. That's huge.
The landscape changed even just in the short time that I've been around, because I know that just a few years ago there wasn't any such thing as group DMs. And so now there are more ways that people interact besides just writing on each other's timelines. People get to know each other better and chat. The group DMs become like chat rooms. And this business of calling for tweets someone saying, hey, send me your tweets, and you send them links and folks retweet each other. I know that there were always certain big accounts that would do that occasionally, but now it's like everybody in the community does it from time to time, and we all share with each other. And so, I don't know, I feel like it's probably easier for smaller accounts to grow now than they were when you started.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point about the DM rooms, in case the listeners don't know. Sort of like DM is direct message on Twitter, and they changed it a while back so you can add however many people you want to a group. I think there's probably a limit, but
there is a limit, but it's big.
Yeah, it's a big limit. So a while back, I was added to a couple DM rooms with Danny, and that's how we sort of got to know each other a lot better. So these little groups, little chat rooms that are going on behind the scenes, as it were, on Twitter, and you really get to know the people sort of on a deeper level than just reading their tweets and replying to them like I had done when I was starting. So the DM rooms for sure was a huge reason that I wanted to start this podcast too, to sort of share the community that we are in, that we're building, with everyone else, and see if we can grow that. So I think it's great, and the DM rooms are for sure a really great way to use Twitter now, and I'm very thankful that I was added to the rooms with you, so we got to become friends.
Yeah, me too.
Nice. So that's great. I think that is a good base level introduction to our friendship and that. So maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into your story.
Well, I'm not sure what I want to tell because when I first started this account, I mean, as you know, I don't have my full name or my face on my account. And, part of the reason for that was because I started out on Twitter just reading other people's jokes. And then when I started to do my own posts, I began, as a lot of people do, just kind of doing comments or replies to other people's posts. But when I felt I was ready to post jokes that I wanted to be seen more widely, I started this account that was anonymous, basically so that I would feel more free to joke about anything I liked and use any language I liked, without being recognized necessarily or without being seen by anyone that I didn't choose to see me. So I'm not sure what I should disclose or what I should tell.
I understand. You want to keep yourself as much anonymous as you can, and I completely respect that. I think Jess also mentioned that. She talked about sort of going anonymous and how that was very freeing for her to sort of tweet things where she might not have if she was, fear of repercussion from someone in real life, The
right.
Facebook syndrome, I call it.
I see how, in a way, that's not really conducive to interviewing. It's like, tell me about yourself. I will not. But
you can tell me about your online persona.
I'm Danny, and I'm at The Real It Would on Twitter, and I like making jokes and being friendly with people, and that's it. That's all there is about me.
I think we can talk about your handle, Real Eat Wood. So your avatar, your little picture there, is a termite. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that goes behind. That's your whole brand there. Real Eat Wood. Get it? Like termites eating wood. Boom. That's you. That's your brand. So you're a bug online.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of a confusing handle, kind of a confusing brand. I've sometimes had people ask me whether wood is supposed to be like an erection reference and whether eat wood is sexual, which is not really the intent. If people choose to take it that way, that's fine. That's not really quite what I was going for. This doesn't really explain it, but when I was in high school, my friend and I formed a little band or a little songwriting duo called Eat Wood.
Okay.
Which doesn't explain it because it was just as random and meaningless a term then. But actually, this is a fun fact. This is a bit of background about my account. When I started this Twitter account, I was texting back and forth with my friend who had this band with me in high school. We don't live in the same city anymore, but we stay in touch, and we had been talking. And he was the one who had encouraged me to start my own Twitter account because we had been kind of appreciating jokes together, looking at jokes that we liked, and so the idea was that we started the account. We actually started the account together using the brand name from our old band. And the intent in the beginning was that we would both own the account. And just the way that it turned out was that he kind of like faded from it. He remains a supporter, and I sometimes show him drafts and we still talk about it. But he kind of, his involvement faded, and I just kind of took over. It became my account, and I just kind of inherited this handle from our old band.
Wow, that's really interesting. What kind of music were you guys playing? It's a two-man band, right?
Yeah, it was like singer-songwriter type stuff.
Right.
He plays guitar, and we would just sing in harmony, kind of like a Simon and Garfunkel type thing.
Nice.
And mostly I wrote lyrics and he wrote music.
So you're the Garfunkel? Wait, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I guess that would make me the Garfunkel. Although, yeah, did he write anything, or did he just sing harmonies?
No, I think he was more the harmony guy,
yeah. Yeah. Right, no, but I sat there and didn't play an instrument, so I had a Garfunkel role in that respect. And then what happened was, when I started the account, the avatar was just like some other funny image that I had found, and then someone Googled Eat Wood and found like a stock cartoon image of a termite, and I adopted that, and then Sarah Shockey, whose Twitter handle is Sarah Joy Shockey. She offered to create this custom image for me of a little green bug chewing on a piece of wood. So that's what I've used for over a year now, and yeah, that's become really central to the identity of my account now. I love it. I'm very grateful for it. I love that Sarah drew it.
Yeah, Sarah's great. Everyone should definitely check her out. She does really great work. I think she has a wrestling podcast, too, that everyone should check out. And I'll try to link to it in the show notes for this episode because she is one to check out for sure. And, yeah, it's a great little picture. It's like a cute little bug that you have, and it's colorful, and it's an iconic image for your brand now, I'd say. Well, that's a pretty cool story for how that all happened. I didn't realize that it was a two-man novelty account that sort of just became you.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, so I think I'll do a little tease now in the podcast biz. We call it a tease. So to talk about writing, which tweets don't necessarily allow for long-form writing, but you managed to write something that is very cool. Talking, of course, about the Mario Sonnet, a work of art that combines Shakespeare and our favorite video game plumber brother. And so I thought that would be great to share with the listeners, and we will definitely get to that later on in the show. That's the tease part of it. So stay tuned for that, or skip ahead to the end right now to hear his very cool Mario Sonnet. So we'll be checking that in later. So a couple other things about Twitter. So we talked about DM rooms, which is great. Could we talk about the theme room that we have? I think that's a fun
thing. We have fun in there.
Yeah, so we have a fun room that Danny invited me to, and it's a bunch of us Twitter folk, and basically it's a different person's turn every day to provide a theme of tweets. So people link their tweets that are related to the theme into the room, and people can check them out, retweet them if they want, or just, to give them a like or whatever. And it's a great way to sort of get your old stuff back out there and your really funny stuff. And I really appreciate you adding me to that room because it's sort of a fun thing to check in on every day, and it really makes Twitter extra fun. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, sweet. So alt accounts, do you have any that you don't mind discussing? I should say. I should add.
Not really. So here's what I have. There's an old personal account that I had before I started The Real Eat Wood, and that account is pretty much dead. I haven't posted to it in a very long time. It has under 200 followers, but it is part of the Eatwood family in a way, because not many, but maybe 2 or 3 of my posts that are currently posted on The Real Eatwood were posted first on my old personal account, where they got no traction because I didn't have any following and I didn't know to send links to people. I just posted them into the void, as we do when we don't have followers. And so then when I created my humor account, a couple of older posts ended up being deleted from there and reposted on the new account. So I had that as kind of a launch pad. Since then, I created 2 different kind of joke novelty accounts that I don't post to regularly, but that I created just kind of as a goof.
Right.
Many of your listeners know that that one of the other things we do on funny Twitter or weird Twitter or wherever we are is that we compete for these digital trophies that are created by do you say Favestar or Favstar?
I say Favestar because I believe it started
I do too.
off.
Some people said Favstar. I don't know what they're talking about.
Well,
it's supposed to sound like part of the word favorite, right?
Yeah, it's a combination because the
fave.
original Twitter, you would favorite something, and you would click on the star because it would be a star, and then they changed it to likes and hearts.
Right. So both the fave part and the star part are both obsolete now.
Yeah.
So those of us that are involved in this foolishness know that there's such a thing as the fave star of the day, which is that folks that have a pro account can award a digital trophy to someone. People call them fake trophies or imaginary trophies. But I don't like to call them fake. I think that's disparaging.
Oh, someone paid for them.
They're real in our hearts.
They technically have value.
Yeah. So there's an existing account on Twitter called Fave Star of the Day that notifies you when you've been awarded that trophy. It's at Fave Star of the Day. So I created a couple of accounts that are parodying that format. I created at DM of the Day, which I award to someone when I like their direct messages, and also at demerit of the Day when someone needs to be given a demerit on Twitter. But I very seldom use those. I kind of each of them was kind of a one-off. Like I created them as a joke. There isn't any account that I post to regularly or that really reflects myself or my identity online other than The Real Eatwood.
All right, so you're like a wholly anonymous person online.
Yeah. There have been a couple of times I met up with some Twitter friends before, and a couple of times we took some group photos, and those ended up being posted, and I certainly didn't mind being tagged or sharing those photos. So images of me have appeared online occasionally, but I don't really do it on purpose. I don't really reveal anything personal about myself on the account. Yeah,
it's probably the smart way to use the internet, I think. Stay safe. Stay safe out there, kids. Stay anonymous. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that sounds very neat. So a couple more things. What are your top interactions that you've ever had on the website? I'm looking for some sort of famous followers that the listeners might know, or some other well-known celebrity maybe interactions that you've had that you're really proud to sort of mention here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel a little awkward about
I'm asking, right? So the onus is on me. No choice. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. So I mean, one very, very exciting thing was the first time that I was retweeted by Lin-Manuel Miranda, the great songwriter and Broadway star juggernaut.
Hamilton,
who of course created Hamilton and wrote the music for Moana. So he retweeted me once and then twice, and then he just recently followed my account, and that was really exciting for me because I'm a big fan and he's a genius. Hey,
that's a great one. Great get. Let me say right there. Congratulations on that. That's a good one. I know he does follow a few other of our friends in the little community, and it's just really cool.
Yeah, he stumbled onto us. I mean, I know that he's a big fan of I Am Space Girl, as we all are, at I Am Space Girl. And so I don't know if that was his first entry point to our circle of friends or where it started, but but yeah, there's a handful of us that he's noticed, and that's really nice. And Joss Whedon, the film director,
yes, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original
right? Yeah,
series.
well, and now he's directed the Avengers movies and everything.
Avengers.
But yeah, some of us have been watching him since as far back as Buffy. So he follows me. I don't know why any of these people follow me.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean,
hey, don't sell yourself short.
I guess they like my jokes.
You got the goods. You got the goods.
It's always surprising to me that these high profile people take an interest in these little jokes. So that in recent weeks, Mark Hoppus of Blink 182 has enjoyed interacting with our group of people. He's been coming on Friday nights and retweeting some folks, and he followed me too. So yeah, it's been going well, I must say.
Yeah,
these folks have been taking notice, and it's exciting for me.
Yeah, those are the two names that I was hoping that you would mention for sure: Lin-Manuel Miranda, and of course my childhood hero Mark Hoppus of Blink 182, who actually did retweet one of mine. So thank you to whoever sent that in. I think.
Oh, good.
It was one of our friends sent in one of mine, and he hit it. So that was great. And yeah, loving the Mark Hoppus Friday calls. So if you're up on Friday on Twitter, follow Mark Hoppus, and he might retweet you.
Yeah, I missed it this weekend. I fell asleep. He came on a little late.
Comes on different times. Yeah, you never know when he's going to do it. But right. It's very cool that he's doing those tweet calls now. Okay, great. So just wrapping up the Twitter segment, something that not everybody loves, but is definitely associated with Twitter, trolls. Let's get into it. Have you ever had some bad troll experiences? Is there anything that you wouldn't mind sharing with us if you have, or anything else? I'm just trying to shed light on these trolls and get them out of here.
I haven't gotten it too bad. I mean, I haven't had recurring trolls, like folks who stalk my account and make negative comments repeatedly.
Right.
I get negative comments from time to time. The more common experience that I have, which is much more innocuous, and we all kind of have a good laugh about it, are the folks that are just overly literal, that seem not to understand that anything is a joke. So if you say something as a joke, they'll fact check you, or they'll correct you and tell you that something in your joke is not true, and you have to kind of break it to them. Well, I realize that this isn't true. That's because it is a joke.
Yes. The actual ears.
That can sometimes cross over into trolling, because if you post a joke that has political content or has anything to do with religion or sex or sexism or anything that's a hot button issue, anything that's sensitive, even if you're kidding, people that are searching for a certain search term, that are looking for the name of the U.S. president
who's that again?
Any sensitive topic, they may swoop in and feel that they want to get into an argument with you now over your joke. I pull back right away. I
don't
make
engage.
It clear that I'm here to attempt to be funny.
Yes.
I'm not interested in any battle of wills or hurting anyone's feelings. But there have been a couple of times where folks who want to rant about their own stuff, sometimes I'll hit that block button. But nothing too traumatizing has happened. There's never been a commenter that made me feel unsafe. And just to generalize, unfortunately, I think that women tend to have a harder time with that than men do. Women who use their own name and face and image then folks feel that they are entitled to comment on the person's appearance, or I see that a lot. That's something that doesn't happen to me, but that I witness all the time. It is a very big problem.
Yes, shame on those trolls, because there's no one deserves that, and women for sure get the brunt of the evil trolls on Twitter, and it's just gotta stop, guys.
Yeah,
just gotta stop. Okay, so that's great. So end of the Twitter segment, except that we're going to be talking tweets now, so that's more Twitter talk coming up right now on Friends of the Show podcast. Okay, so you have sent me 3 of your favorite Real Eatwood tweets. So let's just take a look at those right now. And these will be listed in the show notes at StephenWSkinner.com after the show. So the first tweet that you have chosen is one of my favorites from you also. And it goes, they needed 3 Back to the Future movies so they could cover life's 3 great concerns. One's birth, one's future legacy, and cowboy. So that is obviously a very great tweet because the third Back to the Future, what was that? It's just cowboy, right? Cowboy for the sake of cowboy? I think that's
Yeah, I mean, they try to justify it by showing that they're visiting Marty's ancestors. They try to make it part of the same family saga, but it's so far removed from his own actual experience. It seems like they just wanted a Western setting. It seems disconnected to me.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff was very forced too, like the showdown and everything, and how it's all the same. Right. They tried to force it, but yeah, that's a good point. But great tweet anyway. So the second tweet here that I have is it's a sort of a conversation tweet. So I'll try to do 2 different voices and the narrator. So, Judge, I sentence you to 2 consecutive life sentences. 60 years later, convict dies, is reincarnated. Cop, this baby camel is under arrest. Get it, everyone? Because the person was reincarnated as a baby camel. And the visual of the baby camel being arrested, I think, is what really makes this one good. Can you tell us a bit about that, or how you thought of that?
Yeah, well, do you know that I got a little assist on that one?
I did not. Do you want to give a shout-out to your co-creator?
Yeah, absolutely. So a really great tweeter, Flannery, whose handle is I'm Dainty AF, at I am the word dainty and then AF, who has been
one of the best.
Break.
Shout out to Flannery and Doc.
Yeah, she hasn't really been present as much lately, but she's as good as anybody. She's a wonderful, wonderful joke teller. So I came to her with a draft, saying to her, I know this isn't finished. This is going to be good, but it needs something. Help me out here. And almost the whole thing was unchanged. It began with the judge sentencing the convict to consecutive life sentences. Then 60 years later, the convict dies and is reincarnated. And so then the cop is in the position of arresting a baby. Ma'am, your baby is under arrest.
It was going to be a baby.
That was the first draft. And I knew it wasn't done. I knew it needed an extra kick. Mm-hmm. So I said to Flannery, help me out here. The twist is not grabbing you enough. And she said, well, besides a baby, what else?
Right.
What else? If it's reincarnation, that gives you a wide variety of options. And somehow I knew immediately when she said that. She didn't say camel, but when she said that, I knew immediately that it should be a camel.
That was
that the line, this baby camel is under arrest, that just sprang to mind immediately as soon as she opened the door and invited me to think about other creatures besides a human child. And so she really deserves a lot of the credit because that's, in a way, what makes the joke. I mean, without a camel, it's an okay joke, but it wouldn't have been as successful as it has been. So, yeah, definitely Flannery deserves a big shout-out for that.
Well, thanks, Flannery. She really made that one pop. That one has over 11,000 likes, over 5,000 retweets. So, everyone, go and like that tweet because it's great. So the final one that you've submitted for yourself, another one of my favorites, it's an office scene. So I'm wearing a wedding gown at work. Boss says, do you have a minute to chat in my office? Me, lifting veil. I do. It's got the I do punchline. Lifting veil is what really sells it, right? Because that gives you the visual of you're clearly dressed for a wedding, wearing a wedding gown.
Yeah, even though it's a tweet, I actually think that this joke maybe in a way even works better when you tell it in person because you can kind of mime that, lifting up the veil. It becomes like a little funny gesture, just lifting up the veil.
I actually did that while I was reading it. I lifted the veil. I know no one can see it.
No, it's fun. It's fun to tell out loud that way because you do the little gesture.
I did the veil lift, everyone. So those are great, everyone. So for sure, that is 3 great reasons to follow Danny, but there's many more every day. So now we come to your favorite tweets from other folks, so we can get some other shout-outs going on. First up, we have our friend Jon, who's at ARF Measures, ARF Measures, and his tweet, the tweet that you've chosen from him, it's a scene in a customs line, so at the airport, presumably. So customs. Passport. I lift up my bag and a severed head falls out. Oh no, oh God! Still rummaging through bag. I've forgotten it. So that's a great one. He's looking for his passport, severed head falls out of his bag, and he realizes, oh no, he forgot his passport. So
that's another one that I tell that in real life. You know, it's funny that these tweets, they live in this particular format of being tweets on Twitter, but some of them are just legitimately, they work as jokes in any setting, and that's, I just think, a really funny joke.
It's really funny, and everyone should definitely follow Jon, our pal. Okay, so nice one. The next tweet that you have submitted is from Dave at T_N_Crumpets at TNCrumpets. So he has another judge tweet, and it's a bit of a conversation. So judge says, how do you plead? Me, looks at lawyer. Lawyer, mouths, not guilty. Me, hot milky. Lawyer, bangs on his desk. For fuck's sake, just lock him up. Because he didn't get it. He thought it said hot milky instead
hot
of
milky.
Not guilty. So that's a good one. So Dave is a new Twitterer to me, so I followed him after you submitted this one because that was really funny. So new to me, but everyone should definitely go and check him out, as I did. Great. So the final tweet that you've submitted for Look at Tweets is from LOHell, who's a very popular account online. She must follow you, I'm sure, right? She follows you?
She does now, yeah.
Lovely. That's a good one to get. She's very, very funny. So her tweet that you've submitted is, I'll bet when Godzilla first came out, God was like, damn, that name's way cooler. Like God is jealous of that name.
Yeah.
So everyone check out L on Twitter at LOHell. LOHell. Anything to add about that one?
Not about the tweet in particular, but L definitely is one of the accounts that I had my eye on before I was even writing my own jokes. When I just began reading jokes on Twitter, she's been around for a while and she's always great. And another account that I love and a person that I interact with a lot, as you know, a friend of mine on Twitter is Bat Karen. She's you're going to have her on the show too, right?
Yes, I'm in negotiations to have Bat Karen appear on the show.
Your people are talking to her people.
She said she wanted to
Bat
hear
Karen
an episode.
is one of my good friends on Twitter.
She's great,
and I know that that she likes Elle a lot, and Karen and I have talked about that, how we both admire her account a lot. So yeah, it was exciting for me that Elle noticed what I was doing also, and yeah, she's great.
That's the best, isn't it? When someone that you really respect and admire takes the time, takes a look at your stuff, and follows you. It's just a good feeling. It's just good. Mm-hmm. It's nice.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for sending all those tweets in. That was great. Everyone follow all those tweeters. They are very, very good. Okay. So as I do, we reached out on Twitter and asked friends to submit if they have any questions for Danny. So we did get several questions, and first up, from our lovely friend Bex, at Bexdora. She goes by the Lady of Whatever. Her question, I would like to know what Rue's favorite type of wood is, please. I did a bit of a British accent only halfway through, but you get the idea. She's British, and she's lovely. So the question again was, what is your favorite type of wood? Get it? Because you're a termite online.
Right. Well, full disclosure, if I'm being honest, in real life, if I had to eat the wood, if I had to really chew through it, I don't think I could get through something thicker than like a balsa. I think maybe a balsa would be the best that I could really make teeth marks in.
So you're going for the soft
But if it's
wood.
not for eating, if it's just for admiring, you know, I like a nice mahogany. I like, I've been out to California before, and I like the redwood trees. That's a nice wood.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. That makes sense, because if you're eating it, yeah, you probably want one type of wood, but if you're, decorating your man cave with it or whatever,
that's right,
you probably want that deep, rich mahogany, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. It's got a fine bouquet, but it doesn't go down as easily.
Yeah, we're gonna be in the bug washroom for hours. Okay, so a follow-up question, a very similar question. We got a couple Eatwood questions because people are so funny. Jeff WNI, I don't know. I think that's his name, right? It's like a Welsh name. Jeff.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. That doesn't stand for something. That's an actual name.
I believe it's his name. So at Jeff WNI. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But his follow-up question was, what's his favorite wood? We covered that. And does he put any sauce with it? So if you had to put a sauce with your wood in this fictional eating wood scenario, what sauce would you use?
Maybe like a spicy mayo, or I don't want to shout out the name of a fast food brand, but there's a sandwich shop that I go to that has like a chipotle sauce, like a Southwest sauce. Mm-hmm. That might go well.
So something with a little kick,
like a spicy mayo.
Got it. So spicy mayo, great choice. That chipotle is very popular. Well, there you go, Jeff. That's the sauce. Try it out. Okay, so next question is from our pal Mike Big B. And he submitted 2 questions. So the first question is a joke question. Here it goes. Why are there so many beans in my house? The question?
Beans?
Beans in his house. Why are there so many? That's the question.
I guess he's been slacking on eating them. He's gotta eat them faster than he buys them.
Yeah, beans are coming in. Not many beans going in to his...
Going down.
Going down, yeah. Not many beans going down. So that's your problem, Mike. It's too many beans coming in, not enough beans going in your mouth. So everyone follow Mike to at Mike Big B on Twitter. Now,
all of these people that are interacting and sending in questions, they all
get the stamp.
People that took an interest because they're wonderful parts of our community. I recommend every account that you've mentioned on the whole show so far.
Yes, and again, thanks to everyone for sending in the questions. That's what keeps the show going, the interaction. I really wanted it to be sort of a engagement-rich show, so it couldn't happen without all the people sending in the questions. So again, thanks to everyone sending in questions. And please do send in questions for future shows. They will be read. So, okay, next question from Mike. What is your process? It's more of a real question.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I don't know, because sometimes things pop into my head and sometimes they don't. And sometimes just long periods pass where I don't really have a way back in until the inspiration hits. So there's a part of it that's mysterious. But I know that for some tweets, there's kind of hiding within the tweet is a sort of actual sincere comment or take.
A truth.
That I then sort of dress up as in some kind of, a sarcastic or absurd way. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, with the tweet about the Back to the Future films, that could have been put in a very dry way as an actual critique of those films, but instead of putting it in a sincere way, I put it in a wise-ass way. It was just kind of a way of packaging it. And maybe similarly with the baby camel joke, where there's this concept in the law of consecutive life sentences, which anyone could think of this comment that consecutive life sentences doesn't really make sense. Anyone can kind of critique that comment. And so it was a matter of finding an absurd enough delivery system to kind of take that to its logical limit. Well, what would that really look like, consecutive life sentences? Okay, so it would be reincarnation. So I feel like sometimes that's my process, that there's an actual there's an actual comment hiding within, and I just find a funny way to say it.
Yeah, and you mentioned before how you had that baby camel joke. You had most of it, but you knew that it could hit harder, so it wasn't quite finished. So that would be part of your process, sort of like fine-tuning it. So do you find that you have drafts of your jokes, and then you'll go over them and then keep tweaking them until they hit a certain standard?
Sometimes, although I don't use the drafts folder that much. There's an actual, as you know, there's an actual drafts function in Twitter, and I don't use that much because generally I tend to think of the joke and do all the fine-tuning all in one session or all in one day, and so I just kind of, maybe I keep something copied in my notes on my phone or on my clipboard or something, but I don't use drafts that much. Because if it takes that long, if it takes so many days and I still haven't figured it out yet, often then it never happens. I do have a few things that live in my drafts, but then they tend to live in drafts forever. The things that I post, I tend to work on in a short period of time and post quickly.
So it's sort of, when inspiration strikes, it'll be more fully formed than tinkering with it over time.
And my process has changed. As you noted, when I first joined Twitter, I was really posting jokes every jokes as quickly as I could, and so I was tweeting a lot. And I write fewer jokes now, but I think maybe I still write as many good ones as I used to. I think I used to write a few good ones and then a lot of kind of near misses.
Right.
And I think now I kind of wait till I get it right, so I end up putting out fewer jokes. But I like to think that I'm still producing quality content from time to time, but I only post things if I think they're going to work.
Yeah, so the quality bar has been raised over time as you
I hope so. I hope it's not just that I ran out of ideas and so I rarely post things anymore. But when I do post things, I think they're still rather good. So I think it is that.
Okay, great. Well, there you go. Great question, Mike. Thanks. It really inspired some nice conversation there. So another question from our pal Ghost Mom at Radtoria. She asked this today. Would you go on a date with me if I was a horse?
Well, as it happened, even though it's an anonymous account and I don't like to disclose too much, it so happens that I'm not romantically available. I'm not going on dates. Right. But if I were, then certainly I would love to go on a date with Radtoria in particular. No matter what kind of animal she might be. Yes,
specifically a horse,
or
yes.
Ghost, or whatever form she might take that given day. She's wonderful. I love her.
She's great. At Radtoria. Thank you for the question. Okay, so in the questions, we have a Real Eat Wood truther who has made himself appear with this question. At Dead Everything, he asks, is there a fake Eat Wood?
Well, until I get that blue check mark of being verified, it's really hard to say. I mean, I put real in my handle. I'm putting myself out there, claiming to be the real deal.
Yeah,
like
but Donald Trump
I guess
style.
folks out there, listeners, readers, are going to have to just make their own judgment.
And also, maybe at Verified could get in on this. Maybe get that blue check mark sooner rather than later. Let's get Real Eat Wood verified. Yeah,
so I can distinguish myself from any number of fake Eat Woods that might or might not be out there.
That would really set the record straight once and for all.
Yeah.
Okay, rounding down the questions. Our very good friend Annie Bean at Not a Beanie asks, Rue, what is your fave pop song plus a food and or beverage to pair with it?
Since these questions were posted, I could have prepared responses, and I didn't.
I like the on-the-fly response. I like the off-the-cuff.
Yeah, right. I guess that works. Well, I hate picking a favorite in anything because then everything else in the world is jealous.
Yeah.
But some of the listeners know that that I do enjoy the Wrecking Ball song, the Miley Cyrus song about the Wrecking Ball.
Yes.
People know that because I recorded a version of it a year ago or more. That was also posted on Twitter. Maybe we can put that in the show notes.
We can put it on. We can tag that onto the end of the show. How about that? We can
that's
drop
true.
it in,
right? Yeah,
and then
have access to
when the show
audio.
ends, boom, here comes the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah. So, and I don't know why in particular this would be paired with it, but right now I could do with some nachos and a root beer float. So let's just book that.
So, Annie Bean, the answer given is Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball with nachos and a root beer float.
That sounds good, right?
It does sound pretty good. Yeah, I haven't had a root beer float in God knows how long, but they're good and healthy for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so winding down, we got 2 more questions, and then we are going to get to that Mario sonnet. Oh, baby. Here we go.
Great.
So Brian C. Thayer, who also asked a question in episode 1 for Jess. So thank you, Brian C. Thayer, at Brian C. Thayer on Twitter. What kinds of other specialized identity accounts do you follow? I.e., example, other wood-eating insects, etc. So kind of a niche question. Do you follow any other niche identity accounts?
No. I don't like to be too snobby about my follows, but I have cut down. I pretty much just follow accounts whose jokes I want to read.
Right.
So if there's an account, it's very rare that I'll press the follow button just because I want to support a concept or a gag.
Of course.
I tend only to press the follow button if I feel like there's going to be content coming in that I will enjoy. So I don't really follow a lot of novelty accounts or one-off type accounts.
Okay, great. Yeah, good answer. That's totally cool. Finally, from Abe MB at Dubious Rhetoric.
Oh, yeah.
He asks, are you Margaret Atwood? Don't lie.
I'm not.
Like Atwood, Eatwood. I
She's
think
the novelist, the author of The Handmaid's Tale, and which I read, and other books that I did not read. But I love the one book of hers that I read. I am not she, but I am a fan, and it has occurred to me that yeah, if you kind of parsed it differently, instead of Eatwood, you could read it as E. Atwood. That could even be like an initial, like
her middle initial
Edgar.
is E. I'm looking at it right now. Her name is Margaret.
Oh, it's Margaret E.
Atwood. Yeah. So
I didn't even know she had a middle initial.
Well, he nailed it, right? So he knew that, and that's his reference, and that was a great reference. Abe, nicely done. So Margaret Atwood, she isn't Atwood on Twitter. Like that would, I think, been the best account handle that she could have got, right? Atwood, but she is actually at Margaret Atwood. So for all those Atwood fans out there, that's Margaret E. Atwood on Twitter, at Margaret Atwood. Yeah, and she wrote The Handmaid's Tale, soon to be a major motion picture.
Right. Oh, is it a movie or a series?
Oh, is it a series? It's got Elizabeth from Mad Men. Peggy.
Well, anyway, it looks really cool. It's a disturbing, harrowing, great novel. So yeah, it should be interesting.
So everyone go check that out. Margaret Atwood definitely needs the plug from this podcast. Okay, so I think we did it. We reached.
Maybe we should sponsor the book.
Yes, of course. So we're going to sponsor the book.
We can sponsor that, yeah.
Support the show by going to this episode's show notes and clicking on the Amazon link, and you can buy yourself a copy of The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and it helps support the show. So head on over to StephenWSkinner.com and find the episode show notes for this episode with at The Real Eatwood, and if you click on that link, go ahead and make that purchase, and we get a small percentage, and it helps support the show. So thanks to everyone who does that. Really appreciate all the support that everyone's given, all the questions that have been submitted, and of course, Danny, thank you for coming, giving your time out here on a Sunday night. So I think the thing that we teased earlier on is upon us. The Mario Sonnet. Or Mario, I should be saying, right? You say Mario?
You know, every time you said it, I was thinking about that too. You know, I grew up saying Mario in the 80s. Before anyone told us how to say it, we just kind of pronounced it with an American accent, Mario.
Yeah.
Now that I feel there's more pressure now to say Mario, like the authentic Italian accent.
I think that's the correct pronunciation. I have actually married into an Italian family, and my pasta has now become pasta.
Right.
So I guess the Mario thing, it's the long A, right? Same idea.
That's right.
So
yeah.
So if we, without further ado, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You will grace us with this work of art, the Mario Sonnet. Take it away.
In humble Brooklyn, where we lay our scene, a pair of brothers, noble, strong, and brave, one plumber clad in crimson, one in green, set out a girl of royal blood to save. Through pipes and over many lands they sought the dragon who had snatched the princess fair. 'Gainst flying turtles fearlessly they fought, until at last they found the dragon's lair. "Thanks, Mario," a voice said, 'twas his name, "but grievous day, your princess is not here." Despondent, he embraced the dragon's flame, and left his brother lonesome, struck with fear. How could there be a greater tale of woe than this of Princess Peach and Mario?
Well done. Bravo. Bravo, Danny. Truly very well done. Conceived and executed brilliantly. Let's talk about that. How did you think of this, and what sort of brought this about?
Well, actually, there was a prompt out there from an account that we can shout out, at Ms. Fox If You're Nasty. You know her?
Amy. Yes.
Yeah. She had created a little impromptu contest where she challenged folks to write anything in iambic pentameter. Now, she didn't ask someone to write a whole sonnet. She, only a pair of lines fits in a tweet. That little sonnet was spread out over 7 tweets because of the character limit. And so it was on a weekend, and I had a little time to hang out and think, and I realized that I couldn't do it in a couplet, and the idea just grew, and I decided to write a sonnet, and it was a little unfair because everyone else who submitted to her contest, came to her with a couple of lines, and I came with this fully formed poem. And, it was a little kind of going beyond,
above and beyond
what the contest had asked for.
Above and beyond.
Much like an incompetent pilot, it also went above and beyond.
Hey, shout out to me.
Check
me out on Twitter at SkinnerSteven. That's one of my tweets he's referencing. Well, thank you, Danny, so much for joining us today. I think that will wrap it up. And is there any shout-outs that you want to give? This is like the closing segment where we can give shout-outs to all our family and friends, or, in your case, since you're anonymous, other Twitter accounts.
I'm afraid to
right, you
shout
don't
out
want
anybody because of everyone that I forget. But
somebody.
So many of the people that we've just mentioned just in conversation here, Jess OK Fine, and Bat Karen, and Nada Beanie, and Bex Dora, and there's our friend the Duck that we haven't mentioned, Druck, DRUUUCK. And our friend Will at Upside Down Trash. I know that we mentioned Space Girl just in passing. One of the best things about being in this community has been the people that I've met and the fun folks that I've gotten to interact with. So, you know what? If anyone who listens to this is kind enough to visit my timeline or yours or the timelines of anyone that we've mentioned, I think you'll find more and more people, the folks that I retweet, the folks that you retweet, are all good and worthy and kind people that have great jokes. And so come and visit us, not just to read my things, but also the wonderful folks that I follow and retweet every day.
Well said, Danny. Yes, we share all of our friends' tweets. They got great stuff. That's the whole point of this podcast, to share our community with whoever, all the people across the world. If you're listening in Iceland, send us a note. So we want to hear back from all the people across the world who will now find out about all our fun Twitter friends and their hilarious accounts through this podcast, hopefully. So yeah, and I guess that will wrap it up for us. And I'll just play the outro theme, and you can say your byes to everybody, and then we will play your song. Is that good?
Fabulous. Thanks,
Perfect.
Steven.
Thanks, Danny. Well, that's it. That's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank everyone for listening and following along and interacting with the show on Twitter. And thank you so much for listening again. Like I said, I have lots of very cool guests lined up, so please check back every week for a new episode. Episodes coming up will feature fan favorites Will, that's at Upside Down Trash, Bex at Bex Dora, and extremely controversial guest Travis at Professor_Hinkley. So, subscribe to the show if you like. Visit StephenWSkinner.com. It's got all the links, the show notes, and the shows. And follow me on Twitter at SkinnerSteven. Send me a tweet if you have listened all the way to the end of the show that we have now arrived at. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.
We clawed, we chained our hearts, in vain we jumped, never asking why. We kissed, I fell under your spell, a love that no one could deny. Don't you ever say I just walked away, I will always want you. I can't live a lie running for my life, I will always want you. I came in like a wrecking ball, I never hit so hard in love. All I wanted was to break your walls, all you ever did was wreck me. Yeah, you wrecked me. I put you high up in the sky, and now you're not coming down. It slowly turned, you let me burn, and now we're ashes on the ground. So don't you ever say I just walked away, I will always want you. I can't live a lie running for my life, I will always want you. I came in like a wrecking ball, I never hit so hard in love. All I wanted was to break your walls, all you ever did was wreck me. Yeah, you wrecked me. One more time. I came in like a wrecking ball, I never hit so hard in love. All I wanted was to break your walls, all you ever did was wreck me. Yeah, you know you wrecked me. Yeah.